Hello there, World of Tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, the World of Blitz, and in today's video, I'll be reviewing the Chinese Tech Tree light tank line, starting at Tier 7 and making our way up to Tier 8, 9, and finishing off at Tier 10. I figured I'd make this video not only to shed a bit of light on how to play these vehicles and understanding their very tricky and unique playstyle, but as well just to talk about why these tanks are currently the worst performing vehicles in the game. For example, just bringing up the statistics of the Tier 10, of the bottom 20 performing vehicles, we can see the WZ-132-1 takes that number 1 spot, performing 2.4% worse on win rate compared to your average win rate in Tier 10. So let's say you're a 60%er in Tier 10, that means the WZ-132-1 would be going about 57.5% win rate. Yeah, that's quite a big drop in performance. The next lowest is down at 1.8%, which is a 0.6% difference. That is a huge jump. You can see that the gaps between a lot of the other vehicles are not that tremendous, but man, that WZ-132-1, oh boy, it is a very poor performing vehicle. Now, it makes sense why. The vehicle has very poor gun depression, it has almost no armor, the penetration is absolutely awful, it struggles in a lot of ways, and not only for a skilled player to understand this playstyle, but for a newer player, or even player that's just not fully experienced with mobility yet, this is a very tricky tank to play. You really want to use the mobility a lot and try and flank your opponents rather than play it like your traditional light/medium that you can kind of do a semi-aggressive playstyle against the mediums. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's start off at the Tier 7, talk about its playstyle, and see how it performs. Now I should say, I've not actually played a battle in this tank yet. It looks pretty fun, but if I'm going to be completely honest, the gun just seems worse in every way than the Type 62 Dragon. Its penetration is much worse, being 213 on the heat rather than the 275 that I would be getting if I was running this tank, except it was a Type 62. The alpha damage is a little higher at 210, but who cares? I mean, it's not really a big difference. The gun depression is 5 degrees, which is a lot worse than I think the 7 the Type 62 has. The whole entire gun is just worse. Everything about it. Mobility-wise, this tank goes 64 and 20 in reverse. Overall, this is just a flat worse Type 62 Dragon, which is weird because the Type 62 Dragon has been in the game for what, like 5-6 years now? It was one of the first Chinese vehicles added right after the Type 59, and I just find it weird that Wargaming released a Tech Tree tank that is so much worse than a premium that has been in the game for like 6 years at this point, but oh well, I'm not the one who calls the shots. Unfortunately, it's Wargaming. So, out of all the tanks, I would say that this is probably going to be the most unenjoyable to play. Thankfully, it is the lowest of the tier. So, if this was like a Tier 9, oh boy, good luck. But thankfully, it's down at Tier 7, which doesn't make it as terrible as it could be. Now, when it comes to the upgrades, I will say one nice thing is that there really aren't any upgrades for this tank. I mean, you just get the top gun, and that's about it. You've made your way up to the Tier 8. So here we are, our first battle. We have an AMX 1357 and an M41 Bulldog when it comes to lights. They got a T25-2 and an ARLV 39 when it comes to tank destroyers, and a KV-2 and an M6 when it comes to heavies, finishing off with a VK30-01P as their medium. So they got a pretty balanced lineup. They got some heavies, they got some tank destroyers, and a lot of mobility. Now, being a light tank, I don't love fighting mobility, because the way you want to use this type of tank is against heavies that you can farm, you can take advantage of. That's kind of how you want to use a light. Unfortunately, in a situation like this where the majority of the enemy team is mobile vehicles, it's going to be a little bit trickier to do that. However, I will say a bit of good news is that I do have 210 damage per shot, which means I can outtrade a lot of the opponents the enemy team has, for example, like the M41 Bulldog and at least the AMX 1357 if I don't sit in front of that tank. Now, one of the bad characteristics that the entire Chinese light line carries is absolutely terrible gun depression, only sitting at 5 degrees. It's something I really dislike about the line. For some reason, I didn't notice the gun depression. Oh, I hope I'm not spotted. Okay, I'm not. We're good. We are good. Oh, well, never mind. I should have just stayed behind cover in that bush there, but that was a bit on me. Unfortunately, I lost a pretty big portion of my health to a KV-2. Oh boy. And now we got the VK over here, and he hits me on the move. Well, I'm down to 284 health, and, well, there isn't much I could have really done about that. I'm just gonna Gets shot again by the VK. Well, I'm now down to 50 health. That's even less fortunate. At least I'm not dead. There's not much else to really say. I guess the only good news to say here is that if I can just make it to where I want it to go, we'll be all fine. Yeah, this battle did not start off great, unfortunately for me. That KV2 got I wouldn't say it was lucky, I just kind of played like a poob and sat in front of him. But we're still alive, which is really the most important part, so as long as I can make use of the gun, we should be able to come out with a pretty easy victory here. So, they only have an M6 left when it comes to heavy tanks, but we already know where the M6 is, because that player was last spotted over towards base A. We can see, oh wow, their whole team is spotted over here. Interesting. Well, we're going to put on our adrenaline, and I'm just going to slap this guy with a couple AP shells. I mean, there's no point to really load HE when I don't need to, but there's already a pretty nice farm into the enemy team. We're going to get a nice slap into that ARL V39. There you go, and we're going to reload again and slap him again, pulling forwards in the cover so that he can't hit me as well. There you go, nice teammate finishes him off. We cannot shoot the M6, but we have been able to get at least a pretty decent chunk of damage onto the enemy at this point. We still got a pretty healthy AT8, and our Semovente is also fairly healthy, which is not too bad for our team. Let's get a nice slap into that M6. There you go, for 212. With that, we're just shy of 2,000 damage. We also got the M41 Bulldog running all the way on the side, which is, trying to think of how I want to engage this. Well, Super Hellcat finishes off the enemy there, and we got the Bulldog off to the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive right over here and get one slap into that Bulldog. Hopefully we're not detected, which it looks like we are. Interesting. I'm very surprised that we're detected. Was it the M6? No. Huh? I don't even know what the heck spotted me, but oh well. Not much I can do about that, is there? Got the M6 pushing over here, and it looks like the M6 is not looking at me, so because of that, I was gonna hopefully get a free shell into him, but looks like we weren't able to. Maybe we can get a, well, I feel like that Hellcat should be able to clear that guy, which he did. So we're gonna aim in on the Bulldog. There you go. Get another nice slap into his vehicle. The Semovente does not shoot his shell, but we're already up to 2,400 damage at this point. So even though we started off this game not so amazing, we were able to bring it back in the end. That was pretty unlucky, I gotta be honest. But let's load in an HE, and there you have it, finishing off the M41 Bulldog. So, what do I have to say about this tank? Well, that game, I'll be honest, the beginning was my fault. I drove in front of that KV2, and I should have stayed behind the bush. I wasn't sure if I was spotted or not when I shot him originally, but I wasn't because of the way bush mechanics work. But then I decided to try and get in cover, and that's when I made the mistake. The KV2 got a little lucky that he hit me, but it was still my fault for driving in front of him. But even though we were down to like 50 health just from bleeding early game, I was able to use the decent DPM this vehicle has, the nice mobility, and I do have to say I like the Alpha to actually get a decent chunk of farm on our enemy opponents. Now, this was a tier 6 and tier 7 battle. If you're fighting tier 8, yeah, this will definitely be a trickier tank to drive, but it doesn't seem bad to me, it just seems pretty mediocre. I definitely wouldn't drive this vehicle when a tank like the Type 62 exists. I mean, it's, as I said, just a worse Type 62 Dragon, but it's not bad. I like Alpha, and being a light tank with Alpha is always a pretty nice combination, so I'll give this vehicle a solid 6 out of 10 when it comes to enjoyment. It's not a bad tank at all. When we make our way to the tier 8, you jump up quite a bit in damage per shot, going from 210 to 300. That's nice. The pen also gets quite a bit better. It's at 204 and 249, which is pretty good. The aiming time is very fast at 2.4 seconds, and the dispersion isn't terrible at 0.344. It's not great, but it gets the job done. Mobility-wise, 64 once again, and 20 in reverse, so basically the same as the tier 7, which makes sense, because once again, you can't really tell the differences between these two vehicles apart from the gun. So let's see how the WZ-132 does. Now, this is probably my favorite of the whole line. I think this tank fits really well just because of the alpha that it carries. You can outtrade a lot of your opponents. Let's say you're up against even a T-54 lightweight, which is kind of a more armored version of this tank. When you have that ability to not only keep pretty good mobility, but just outtrade that player, it's nice. But once again, you do feature a lot of downsides. Absolutely terrible armor. Let's say you're up against a Smasher, like the enemy team has. That tank can very easily HE me and turn my hit points into nothing. So that is the first thing you got to be very careful about when trying to use this type of tank. Not only is the hit points pretty poor with the armor, but as well, once again, the 5 degrees of gun depression is not the most enjoyable thing to work either, which we can see right here. But that's not going to stop me. Let's make our way into the front line and see what we can do. Alright, so I'm going to head right over to this bush, and, I mean, this should be a fairly easy game. It's not too bad of a matchup, so I guess I'm just going to hope that our team doesn't fall apart in 5 seconds. Alright, what do they have? Lorraine, and that's about it for mobility. Okay, well, that's good news for me. If they don't have a lot of mobility, that means if that Lorraine ends up getting spotted, I can very, very easily take advantage. Now, the Chiri's overlooking me, so I'm actually going to make an aggressive play here and move up, because I feel like that is the right thing to do when we have 2 mobile tanks and they only have 1. I need to use that mobility to my advantage and get behind them before it's too late. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. We're flying over here. This tank doesn't feel incredibly fast when it comes to top speed, but it's not bad either. It can definitely reach an okay top speed of 64. So there's the Lorraine all the way in the back, and we are spotted, which I don't actually understand, but nice shot into that KV-4, I'll tell you that. A pretty nice fire as well, dealing 585 damage. Let's go for another shell into that KV-4. With that, we were able to take a pretty decent chunk off of his vehicle already. I'm not gonna lie, that was not too bad at all. We got the T-2065 all the way in the back, and not really sure what the enemy team's planning on doing right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to head all the way over here, and we're going to see if I can get some damage maybe into one of these players. I have to be careful on how I maneuver this, so I'm going to go back this way, and let's go over here. I hope that T-28 defender, of course he did. You poob. Oh well. I'm kind of hoping the best way I can work this is if I can get over here. There you go. Let's see if I can get a nice pen in. There you are. Nice. I do like the fact that this tank gets APCR. It means that I don't need to worry as much about penetrating my opponents. But we also got the T-28 Defender over here again. Nice 375 roll into his vehicle. Our team is not doing all too well, though, if I'm going to be completely honest. They're pretty low on health. Let's get a nice shot into that Lorraine, finishing him off. That's good stuff. Good stuff all around. Ooh, nice. The Chiri's also going to get some shots into that KV-4, which is going to be a bit of a distraction, which is exactly what I need. So we got the Lorraine. Let's fire an HE. Boom, a 340. And with that, the Lorraine gets finished off. Okay, well, this game is, it's not doing too bad. You can see where the alpha on this tank feels very, very solid. The fact that I'm just able to slap my opponents for a pretty beefy 300 every time, I do really, really like that. Now, this KV-4 is most likely going to pen me, but because we have decent premium pen, I'm able to just slap that shell right back into his tank, and he is a goner. So, at this point in the game, we've dealt 2,147 damage, but we've also gotten a pretty beefy fire on our opponents. We got the T-28 Defender off to the side over here, and there you go. HE into the back of his tank for 307. Not a crazy HE, definitely have seen better days, but you know what, I'll take it. Now we're going to use that great mobility we have to once again get to the side of this T-28 Defender, slap him, and finish him off for 314 damage. So, not a bad game at all. 2,768. If we add in that fire, I've probably dealt over 3,000 damage this battle. Let us take a look. Yeah, just over 3,000. Not bad at all. We finished off with a second class. As you can see, the tier 8 is pretty enjoyable. I would give this tank overall a 9 out of 10 on enjoyment. I wouldn't say it's the best tank out there. The lightweight can do very similar results to what this vehicle can achieve. But I just think the tank's really fun. I like the alpha. The mobility's not bad. The gun is pretty good on pen. I like the accuracy, the aiming time's great, so yeah, I have to say the tier 8 is a really, really solid contender, and while I've only played 4 battles in the tank, I've enjoyed all 4 of the games, and I can tell you that this one is definitely a keeper, so I like the tier 8 the most on the line. Now, we make our way to the tier 9, but before we do, I also want to talk about modules. So you can see that you got a couple gun options here, and well, gun options are a bit weird. The 85mm, you definitely want to skip. You want to get one of the 100mm. The nice thing is that you really only have a bit less DPM and a bit worse dispersion on the stock 100mm. Your penetration's also not a huge amount worse. 190 is still pretty good standard AP pen, and 231 is not too bad either for APCR. So my advice for grinding down this line is get that gun. Get the second gun. Engine is important as well. It is 92 horsepower. Traverse isn't super important. I mean, it will affect you, but I would definitely suggest to go for the engine. and the gun. The turret is important, but not a huge amount. You're not going to notice a massive, massive difference. So that's my opinion when grinding the tier 8. The tier 9 is another jump up in alpha, and it's a pretty nice chunk of alpha. It sits at 330 per shot, which is actually the same as the tier 10. This vehicle gets the adaptive concealment that the tier 10 gets as well, while featuring very solid DPM at 2,700. The only thing that kind of sucks about this vehicle is that you only get APCR as premium, and it's not a lot of pen at 299. I could be running rammer, bringing me up to 2,900 DPM, but I'd rather have more pen, especially because it does help you out in a lot of situations. The dispersion is not too bad at 0.335, the aiming time's great at 2.3 seconds, and the average pen on the standard's not too bad at all. I like the alpha. 330 is good for tier 9. It means when you fight tier 8s, you can outtrade them, and when you fight tier 10s, you can out-reload them, so it's a pretty good combination there. Once again, 5 degrees of gun depression, a bit unfortunate, and very similar mobility to the tier 8, only going up a 1 kilometer per hour at 65. The big advantage of this vehicle is that spotting mechanic. Essentially, if you get spotted, you will know who spotted you and for how long you're detected. It's actually a really, really cool mechanic. Plus, you will know instantly when you're detected, which allows you to have the information to get out of a situation a lot faster. I do really like the WZ-132A because of that mechanic, and I really want to like the tier 10, but I'll break into what the problems are with that vehicle when we get into it. But overall, I think the tier 9's pretty solid. I haven't played a crazy amount of games in it, maybe only about 10 or so, but it feels decent. I mean, the armor's definitely not the key for this line. The spotting mechanic allows you to not really need to worry about armor as much, though, because when you get spotted, you instantly know. It's nice, because a lot of times I will poke bushes and not really know if I'm spotted or not, and I'll be a little hesitant, or the other way around, I'll think that I'm not spotted, poke a bush, and then bleed health. It's a bit unfortunate, but it's something that does happen a lot. And when it comes to a vehicle like the WZ-132-1 or the WZ-132A, both of these vehicles have the ability to know when they're spotted, which means you can back up and not worry about being spotted in a bush or really anything like that. So this is not a bad matchup at all. We have 2 tier 9s, being an Object 704 and an Emil 2. They also have an Emil 1951, an IS Touche, and that's about all they got for heavies, but I guess you can come out the Semovente CC as a heavy as well. Now, it looks like the enemy team is more on this side of the map towards base C rather than base A, because I don't see anything over here. I'm going to be very careful because I don't want to put myself in a compromised situation, but it would appear that this is the case. I'm going to poke this bush, and I'm going to jump down. Please don't be anybody here. Okay, we're good. I was getting nervous when poking that position that I'm going to be shot, but as you can see, a light bulb appeared from that Progetto 46, and that means that I was spotted by him. So it's nice that you can know instantly when you are detected. Oh, come on, gun. Now, I do have decent dispersion as we went over, so it's a bit unfortunate that that shell ended up missing, but if we chill right here, anybody decides to drive into my... Wow, okay. That shell went literally nowhere. I mean, that shell could not have gone any further off from where I aimed. And, I mean, we're getting shells out. I'll give the tank credit. We are getting some shots into the Progetto, but still... Come on, I'm trying to bait a shell. There you go. Managed to bait 1 shell from the Prog. We do have that 704 looking at me, but there you go. My teammate gets a nice slap in, and bonk. There you go. But now that I get a shell into him, we got an enemy IS Touche over here who also wants to take a piece out of me. So, I'm going to try and do this the smart way. I'm going to drive straight at him, and then I'm just going to come around him. Oh, wow. I'm very surprised he actually got that reload out, to be honest. But we're still going to use our DPM, get behind him here, and just outmaneuver him. That's really the end goal. This is pretty easy to do, and even though this guy did hit me, we can still take 1 more shell from his tank. So there you go. There's a pretty easy shot in. I'm going to stay on this side of his vehicle, and then we're going to slowly get to the other side of his tank. Let's put on that adrenaline. Here we go. 3, a 2, a 1, and bonk. There you have it. Another easy shell into the IS Touche. And with that, I don't think he's enjoying my company all too much. Let's see if we can get a... Oh, wow. Wow. I cannot believe the game just did that to me. Every now and then the game does irritate me a bit, and that was one of those moments. That shell literally just went into the dirt for no reason. Well, we're up to 3,000 damage, so at least we've done that. And we were able to kill his full health tank. Just frustrating. There's no other words to describe it, just frustrating. So let's clear the object 704. There you go. Not a bad shot at all. And we got a couple more seconds left, and we can possibly get a shell into the ISU. Another easy shell. With that, I do not have a lot of health left on my teammates. We got a Semovente on their team. That's not very healthy either, though. But there you go. Nice shot into the enemy Emil 2. And, trying to think of how I want to engage this one. Let's see. If this Emil shows me the back of his turret... Oh, yeah. There you go. Nice. Okay, I was able to bring that Emil 2 down to a one-shot. Unfortunately for me, I am not in the best situation here because, well, yeah, you can see why. So, what I'm going to do right now is... Well, we're down on base cap, which is a problem. Because, obviously, being down on base cap means that the enemy team can just... kill me if I try capping this. But I think I need to cap this base, because if I don't, I'm going to be in a lot of doo-doo. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to capture this base right now. Come on, and there you go. Alright, not bad. Now we're just going to go all the way back here, and we're going to chill. This should be a pretty fine spot, would be my guess. Somewhere like right around here. But I do need to be careful. Now, I don't really like this spot, to be honest. I need a position where I can't get flanked by the enemy in either direction, which is... it's tricky. It's a very tricky one to do that, because if that Emil 2 pokes that spot, he can find me. So I'm going to go all the way back. Like, all the way. Yes, there you go. There's the Emil 2. Okay, perfect. So, we have his tank spotted. I'm just going to go back and forth real quick. We also know where the Semovente is. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. We were able to get the clear on his vehicle. I'll be honest, it was a pretty lucky clear. That guy missed me by like an inch, and our HE managed to hit him. But still, we were able to clear our enemy opponents. At this point, we are up by a lot on base capture, and I need to speed along. Alright, let's keep going. You know what? I'm not even mad, or I'm not even going to say it was luck that I got that bounce. Oh, okay. There's the Semovente. But I'm not even going to say it was... oh, interesting. I don't know how he spotted me, but... see, this is a nice mechanic, because I know instantly, as I said earlier, when I'm spotted. I'm just going to chill here. If you look up at the top, we're at 975, 980, 985, 990, 995, and that's what I'm talking about. Supremacy, ladies and gentlemen. Supremacy has its moments. I'm happy I didn't poke that, because I would have died. So, sometimes it's better just to wait and stay calm. But what I was going to say is, honestly, I think I deserve that bounce from the Emil 2, because we got absolutely screwed by that IS-2 when he managed to clear us there and our shell dunked into the dirt. Either way, not a bad battle. We were able to deal 4,173 damage and pull out a mastery, showcasing where this tank is pretty solid. I mean, it definitely has its downsides, and you saw some of those downsides this battle. The gun, I don't know why, just likes to dunk shells in the dirt, and I can actually tell you why. It's not an I don't know why. It's because this gun has really, really bad on-movement dispersion. And for some reason, Wargaming thought, let's make a light tank with really good aiming time, but really poor on-movement. And the best way to really showcase that is right here. I mean, yeah, this wasn't the most spectacular shot, but why am I in a light tank with 2 point whatever seconds of aiming time that can't snap a shell on somebody when I don't have that much alpha? I mean, to me, I just find that a bit weird. It's a bit frustrating how that works, and I don't know, it's just one of the problems that this tank does carry. It doesn't happen all too often, but when it does, it can be very, very frustrating, and it's something that happens a lot more in the tier 10, I can tell you for a fact. Either way, pretty solid game. I can't complain. I'll take a win when I can get one, especially when our team, oh boy, they really tried hard not to get that win out. So, let's make our way to the final vehicle in the branch, the WZ-132-1. Also, I should talk a little bit about equipment on this tank and consumables. Well, when it comes to this tank's gun, it's pretty simple. Just get the gun and get the engine, then go for the tracks. It's still a lot of horsepower at 70 you're going to get. It's a lot of weight and everything, so go for the top engine and go for the top gun. Pretty easy upgrades on this vehicle overall. When it comes to equipment, I always run the same stuff on all these tanks, so it should be fairly easy to memorize all that, and everything else is easy as clockwork. Now we make it to the Tier 10 WZ-132-1, a vehicle that I don't really like, to be honest. I mean, I want to like the tank. And there are some times when it does really well, but there's also a lot of situations where it does really poor. Its dispersion is 0.308, which is not bad at all, but the problem is its aiming time looks great on paper until you take a look at its on-movement dispersion values, which are absolutely awful. They're probably some of the worst on-movement dispersion values for a light tank and medium out there, apart from maybe like the 121 or the Progetto, which is not good. I should point that out. So that is one of the big problems I've noticed with this tank, is you have to fully aim in before you can actually hit your shells. Now the nice thing is it's got a fast aiming time, but still a bit irritating. When it comes to the pen, awful. 241 with APCR. And I should also point out I am running calibrated. That means it's 230 base. That's awful. I mean, a lot of people might make the argument that the Sheridan has the same base pen, but the Sheridan gets 341 heat pen, not 325. So this tank has pretty poor heat pen, pretty awful standard penetration. It's got bad pen loss over distance. I don't know. I really don't love the way this tank's gun is. Add that into the fact that it's only got 5 degrees of gun depression. There's a lot of reasons why this vehicle is the worst performer in tier 10. You feel like when you're fighting a medium, you're just kind of stuck in a situation where you don't really know what to do to counter it, because mediums have more gun depression, they have more alpha, they have just as much damage per minute, and they have just as much mobility as you. So it's a tricky tank. I can definitely say there's games you'll do very well in it, but there's also games you'll do really, really bad. So in this battle, we got a Boss Chatillon 25 ton up against us and a T92E1. That's it. Apart from that, they don't have much mobility. Now, I was thinking about possibly going towards A side at the beginning to try and flank the enemy team. The only problem with that is I don't know where the enemy's going, and they could just end up YOLOing A. You never know what's going to happen in Blitz. So, to start off this battle, I'm going to make my way straight over towards base C and just spot. It's always a good idea to detect your enemies early game and see what they're going to do. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my way right over here, and we're going to see if I can spot anybody crossing. If we spot one or both of their lights cross over here, then I get the go-ahead. So there's the Bat Chat. Nice slap as well into his vehicle. You can see we got spotted from that light bulb, but with that information, I'm instantly going to leave and flank. I think that's really the best bit of advice I can give for a vehicle like this, is use your mobility, because this is not the kind of tank you're going to sit against your opponents in the front line in. So that's what I'm going to do here. We're going to flank. This tank is fairly fast. You can see that here. Very, very quick. By the way, I really do like this camo. I wish that it just looked like this and it didn't actually have the... Why? Why are you here? Why is this my life? Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, that 60 TP has not been spotted either. What is the help button? Oh my god! There's no way. There is no way that this is my life right now. There is no way that this is the enemy team. Well, you know what? We got off, but holy crap. What is this game, man? Why? Why? Oh my god. Well, welcome to World of Tanks Blitz, where you can read a line up perfectly, you can decipher, look, the enemy light tanks are going this way, so the rest of their team must be going this way. Psych! They're all going to go to the other side of the map, where you don't expect them to be. Well, let's get a nice shell at least into the 60 once. Ah, and then the Object 263 hits me. Well, wow. This is not the kind of game I want to be stuck in. Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, hopefully that 60 doesn't spot me. It looks like he didn't, so I'm gonna slap another shell into his tank, but man, I really don't like being stuck in this position. This is an awful, awful spot to be stuck in. I hope he doesn't spot me. I'm gonna try and get out. That's really the best idea I can come up with here. Our heavies need the push, which is what it looks like they're doing, but oh boy, move. I don't want to be shot by the 260. Okay, we're good. That was a bit on me. I just should have looked behind me for my teammate rather than getting mad at him. But we're not detected currently, which is good. We got the 50 TP spotted. There you go. Easy shell into his lower plate. Thank you. And reloading again. 3, 2, 1. There you are. Another easy shell into his lower plate. And reloading again. 3, 2, 1. Doesn't look like we can get a shell into him. Or into the enemy minnow, unfortunately. This is one of the big downsides. Ah, come on, gun. But look at how bad this thing's pen is, man. I mean, that's awful. We did end up penning the minnow, but... I mean, not by much, let's be real. That is not a great pen. There you go. Another penetration into the minnow. We have brought him down quite a bit, and he's not too healthy anymore. Chances of that hitting, yeah, kind of what I expected. But we are winning this, so I will take it. There's the minnow. Yes, okay. We were able to clear the enemy Minotauro. We got a bit lucky, I'll be honest. My shells went where I wanted them to, which is pretty rare when it comes to Blitz. But we were able to clear our big threat, which was the Minnow. Now I'm going to use that mobility this tank has, get to the side of the 60, bounce his side because we have 230 millimeters of pen. Go figure. I mean, when you have that bad pen, it makes sense. But you can see the on-movement dispersion of this vehicle is not very good. In fact, it's quite bad. As I said, I don't know why it's so bad. It's one of the things that I definitely would fix about this tank in the future. Okay. Well, unfortunate for me. That wasn't really on-move. That was just bad luck. But there you go. Another nice shell into the enemy object. 263, and at this point we're going to back up and low roll him for 287. Thank you, Wargaming. I really appreciate it. Well, let's load heat, because my standard didn't have enough pen to cut through a slower plate. But there you have it. That was a pretty hectic battle. I do not understand what the enemy team was doing. That was probably the dumbest game I have played in, I'm not joking, maybe a year. I mean, everything in my mind was perfect. I spotted both lights on medium side, and I was like, okay, well, if I spotted the lights on medium side, there's no way their team's gonna go A, right? I spot the 50 TP, I'm like, okay, maybe it's just a 50 TP I can rush, use my DPM and clear. Oh, wait, no! It's their entire team! Yeah, I don't even know what to say. Apparently they had a 183. I don't remember seeing him at all, but you know what? We did good. And it was a good example to showcase the WZ-132-1. The spotting mechanic is nice. The gun has its moments when it's nice. I think the gun should have better on-movement dispersion, or maybe better accuracy, or both. But for now, I don't think it's a bad tank at all. Let's finish off the video by opening up a crate. Let's see how lucky I am. Hoo-ah! You know what? I'll take it. A 5 gold booster is not too bad. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.